where do we start? Like, should we do food first? Should we do the regions of the country?
Every part of Peru is quite stunning, but I think it's important to understand what there is to do or see in Peru first. The point of going to Peru for many people is, of course, to reach Machu Picchu, which is one of the new 7 wonders of the world.
The Amazon as a rainforest has always fascinated me. It covers, I think, 8 or 9 countries. Largest rainforest in the world, plays a huge role in not only South America but the Earth's ecosystem in many ways.
On the mountainside, they've actually made an astronaut.
What?
So everyone is stunned that how and why did someone from those ages, like this is like 1500 or 1400s or even before that. But the more interesting part was the Coca Tea. What I also learned was that these are the same coca leaves that go into Coca-Cola.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Travel Explore Celebrate Life. This week Sunila and I, both of us are here, and we found the opportunity to do this one episode recording which is about a destination that Sunila just returned from, Peru. Now Peru is something that even I haven't ticked off my bucket list, and because Sunila just returned from there, we were very opportunistic and we were like, okay Sunila, let's record an episode on Peru. Now Sunila, first things first, okay? Many of us don't even know where Peru is on the map. And how do you get there? Like, what was your flight route like?
Yeah, Neil, so Peru is in South America. And, the tagline for Peru tourism, from Peru, says it's closer than you think. But after sitting in the flight for more than 30 hours, I thought otherwise. I think that tagline holds true only for America. But it's a very special place. It's a beautiful place. And it may take you a little long to go, but if you do it a little smartly, you can do quite a lot once you're in South America as well. So one of the easiest ways to get there, if you want to go only to Peru, is of course flying via Europe. Mm-hmm. You can get a KLM flight and get into Amsterdam and connect from there to Lima. On return, the flights connected via Delhi. There was no connection via Mumbai. So that's something again to consider.
The way you are going, you weren't smart enough about it. So
no, I had to choose because of the certain dates that we had. So it depends on when you're flying, what are the airfares that you're getting. You have to think of everything, right? So you can take a Air France and KLM combination and go via KLM.
Okay.
Or you can even go via London. And then once you get to London, you have to go to Miami and then connect from Miami. But you have to cross the immigration in Miami. So that's you need a US visa. So that's again something to consider. But of course, if you do have a US visa and you are going to the US, then I would say add it on. Because your US visa is valid for your entry in Peru. So you don't need to take an extra visa.
But what if I go through KLM and via Amsterdam? Will I need a different visa?
No, you don't need a different visa.
As long as I have a US visa?
As long as you have a US visa, you don't need a separate, at least as an Indian, you don't need a separate visa to enter Peru. Of course, if you do need a visa, you can apply and get it. That's not so much of a problem. But it's really easy if you're in the States to just hop on a flight and get there. The other way would be via Brazil or Argentina. And that's how most of us would usually go because we use the Middle East carriers. And then once you use those, get into anywhere in the GCC countries. From there, get into Sao Paulo, Rio or Buenos Aires, and from there you can connect to Lima.
Yeah, that's the route I had taken or you had also taken when we went to Antarctica, right? So you fly into Lima, which is the capital city of Peru.
Yeah.
Now, what is Lima like? What can one expect?
So Neil, the last time I went there was some 20 years back, and for me it was a huge change. I loved the city, and I felt like, the joke is I stayed there 4 nights on 4 different times, but I didn't really get to see Lima properly.
Why is
so
that?
I want to go back there and see Lima all over again. Of course, I did manage to squeeze in time and saw it at different times. Because the way the flights in Peru connect is you will keep coming back to Lima for your connection to a different place.
Okay.
And what often happens is that the flight times, like there was one time we reached Lima in the evening, say around 7:38, and the next flight was at 3 in the morning.
So you didn't get to see Lima.
I did. I stayed back a little longer and I did. But don't think that just because you're crossing Lima so many times, you're going to be able to do it all. And there's so much to do in Lima. Maybe you just want to take a day off and walk the streets. In that case, take your time. Like spend a day in front and spend a day at the start and the end and really take your time to see Lima. Because Lima is stunning, Neil. Like there is a part of it which is the historic center. It's kind of, you can break down Lima into centers. And for all your sightseeing purposes or for your history, you have the historic center with the Plaza de Armas, the cathedral, and the major sites. And we did a night walking tour, and it was quite nice because everything was illuminated. It looked beautiful. But of course, if you want to get into the cathedral, you want to do things, you want to be there in the day.
Yeah.
Like there was this beautiful Rococo styled cathedral out there. There was, the entire square was so nice. So you have the historic center. Then you would probably want to stay, I would say, at Miraflores, which I did for one night. And Miraflores is like this beachside area of Peru. And throughout the year, like whether the weather is good or not, people are surfing and doing other things. Of course, remember, it's not a sandy beach. There's only one sandy beach in Lima. The rest is pebbles, but it's still pretty. It's still beautiful. And they have this amazing love park, as they call it, with this kissing statue out there, which was supposed to be one of the most romantic places in the world, and a nice shopping area out there. So Miraflores is the place that you would want to stay in to explore Lima. And close to Miraflores was my favorite part of Lima, which is known as Barranco. So the Barranco area is a very bohemian, artsy kind of an area with a lot of art galleries, boutique properties, lots of cafes, for dessert places, cafes, restaurants and all of that. So Lima's kind of divided into these areas, and it really depends on what you want to do. If you don't have much time, just want to see the city and get out, then stay in the historic center. But I would still prefer Miraflores or Barranco to stay.
By the sound of it, Lima sounds like a very lively city.
Yes.
And the fact that you spent 4 nights there but didn't end up seeing Lima and still had so much to speak about Lima, I'm sure the entire episode is going to be pretty long, and good luck to the team like editing this. So,
no, before we move on, one more thing is in Lima, you shouldn't miss the Larco Museum. And a nice way to do this probably is, depending on your flight time, either on the way to the airport or from the airport.
Okay.
Because it's close to the airport and they have a beautiful cafe, so you can even have a lunch out there.
So where do we start? Like, should we do food first? Should we do the regions of the country? Like, what left a mark on you as you were returning?
I think, Neil, every part of Peru is quite stunning, but I think it's important to understand what there is to do or see in Peru first. So I think let's look at the regions of Peru first, and then we'll come to the food, which is our tradition as always.
We'll end the episode
with food because that's how we do it.
Yeah.
So to start off with the regions of Peru, I've thought that the easiest way to break it down was to think of Peru in 3 different regions. Okay, so you have the rainforest region, and then you have in the center, you have the Andes Mountains, so the highlands, and then you have the coastal area. So if you just divide Peru into these 3 zones, it becomes really easy to decide what it is that you want to do in Peru and how many days you want to spend there. Like many people do Amazon from Brazil. So if you're doing there, you don't need to repeat it in Peru.
Okay, it's more or less the same thing.
Yeah.
So the rainforest region, the coastal region, and the range that
the
separates
mountains,
both of them, that is the Andes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was, like, which of these did you visit first?
I actually visited everything. I visited all the 3 places. And, that's why one point was to keep your luggage in check. You're taking a lot of internal flights. And of course, the baggage allowance on LATAM was about 24 kilos, which was not bad for one suitcase. But I thought it was easier to just take one suitcase and keep it a little light, but pack for the rainforest where you need your, cotton clothes and linens, and then again pack for the highlands where you need your warm clothes. So make sure you have things that aren't too heavy.
It's interesting, to pack everything in one bag, but I quite agree with you to travel smart and travel light, because when you're traveling through all of these places, and by the looks of it, you said that you'll be doing a lot of air travel, but still doing stopover air travel because you can't come to Lima again and again, right? So I 100% agree that not only for Peru, but for any destination, just pack light. Right?
Yeah,
and that's
true.
probably one thing that I would say. So let's start with the mountains.
Okay.
Or let's start with the Inca Trail, right? Like Peru is really known for that.
Yeah.
But I have heard that the Inca Trail is different in different ways, because someone can do a 14-day trail,
Yeah.
someone can go there and just do it in like a day, if I'm not wrong. So what is the Inca Trail? Why is it so famous, and how did you do it?
Sunil, the Incas were like, you know, I think the point of going to Peru for many people is, of course, to reach Machu Picchu, which is one of the new seven wonders of the world. And there are many ways to reach Machu Picchu. What I did was the simplest touristic way of going there, simply because there was lack of time. And I think the next time round, I would love to do the Inca Trail,
The full one.
the full Inca Trail, which is about 4 or 5 days actually.
Okay.
So, what you do is you get into either Cusco or Sacred Valley, one of the towns, and from there you can start your journey to Machu Picchu. So, you go to a very pretty small town in Sacred Valley called Ollantaytambo, and I just love that town. It was all in these mustard colors, and you know, at night with the lights everywhere, and excellent farm to table kind of a food that you get there. So from Ollantaytambo, you take a train that goes to Aguas Calientes, and from here the journey starts. Now you can do a one-day trek from Aguas Calientes and go all the way up, or which is what most people do, is there is a coach which is kind of arranged by Machu Picchu and the government as well, that starts from this train station and takes you up to Machu Picchu. So you go to the train station and then you see this big queue, a long serpentine queue, and you know that that is the way to go. Aguas Calientes itself is another like cute little town that you can spend some time in the cafes, wood-fired pizzas, and you know, stuff
Yeah.
like that, and a lot of souvenirs and things to buy. So it's really hard to not look anywhere but go straight to Machu Picchu. And then once you're at the top, then you have 3 different circuits.
Okay.
Circuit 1, 2, and 3. And now within the circuits, they've made different routes. So there are really a lot of different routes.
But
Or
the end goal is that
is
you reach Machu Picchu.
Correct.
Okay.
So Machu Picchu means old mountain.
Correct.
And once you go there, you know, you enter, you have the ticket, you show in, and then you climb for about 2 hours or 3 hours in total.
Is it
It's up
easy?
to you. It's not too tough. It's not extreme. It's not flat ground, of course. And you are at a height. You're almost at
But
like...
what's easy for you and what's easy for us is different, because you've done Kilimanjaro. Here I've done a few hills near Maharashtra. So, like, is it easy for
No,
any type
it's
of
easy
traveler?
for anyone. Let's put
Okay.
it like that it's okay. I think it will be really easy for everybody if you acclimatize yourself.
Okay.
So, you know, what I found is that most tours, if you have lack of time, then of course spend your time, or you know, if you have like 2-3 nights, then go and stay in Cusco, and from there you can do it.
Yeah.
If you have about 4 or 5 days, break your journey and stay in Cusco and the Sacred Valley.
Okay.
And the reason for that is Sacred Valley is at a slightly lower altitude. So if you stay there first, then you get acclimatized quite a bit. And Machu Picchu is actually lower at a height than Cusco. What happens is most people get into Cusco and start going everywhere, you know, exploring the city, and then you get tired. So it's like Ladakh. It's exactly, it really reminded me, because it's kind of the same elevation, about 11,000 feet something. And you know, one thing is, in some of the luxury hotels in Cusco today, they actually infuse oxygen into your room through the air conditioning vents.
That's a good idea.
So go there. If you're going to Cusco, do nothing on the first day, and you'll enjoy Machu Picchu. And then it's not so difficult. So yeah, walking was not too tough, and it's not like you're just hiking all the way, because from the time you start going and you start seeing these panoramic vistas, you're stopping to take photos, you're doing different things, and then of course there's a guide with you, so they will explain to you the different parts, because it was a citadel of the Incas. The Incas were this fabulous civilization, and Machu Picchu, even though the Spanish came and conquered Peru, Machu Picchu was hidden. Nobody knew about it till, I think, say about something like 1911 or
they
something.
found it,
They
right?
found
Yeah.
it then. So how was it hidden? No one knows. But they were actually living out there, and it probably, they say it was like the royalty, the king and all of them lived there, and you can still see the Sun Temple. You can see the window. You can see how they used astrology and all their functions. So you kind of stop everywhere. You're taking a few stops, so it's not so tiring.
So
You
for
can
you,
do
it was a day trip or
A day trip.
A day trip. So by the
day
end
trip.
of the day, you must be pretty tired.
Yes, you come back in the evening, but we were staying in the Sacred Valley. So by the time we got back, it was pretty late, but it was a day well spent.
Any fun experiences or stories?
In Machu Picchu, oh yeah, of course, like we were standing there and the guide was talking, and after 5 minutes, we were a group from India, a lot of travel agents, and after 5 minutes, I realized I turned around and there was no one around me because everyone was so enamored by the place and taking photos that it was really difficult to keep the group together. And I think that bounds to happen when you get there all the time. Also, by the time we came down, because we had the afternoon, batch for the entry, and the tour manager in me was like, start moving or we will miss the bus, because
Yeah.
if you miss the bus, you miss the train. And if you
And then
miss
you're
the
just stuck
train,
there
and then you are stuck because your reservation's gone and things are really booked
so you have
all
to be
through.
like
So you have to
on
really
time.
be a little mindful of the time that you have on hand.
Okay.
Of course, with the train, there is a luxury option. Hiram Bingham is
Hmm.
a Belmont luxury train that can get you there. And it's a beautiful journey. It's not cheap, of course, but it's a nice journey, and they include lunch and things. And okay, one of the fun experiences was actually on the way back.
Hmm.
We came to the train, all of us are dead tired, sleepy, and thinking, okay, now about an hour and a half to go back. And then suddenly there's music, and you have like this cartoon characters had in the train who had come in to entertain everyone. So something to do with the Peruvian history and mythology, and like they were mischievous characters who would come and make you laugh. And then after that, there was a fashion show in the train.
Oh wow.
So which was pretty cool. Like, and who was doing the fashion show was the same steward who had come and served us tea and coffee. So both of them were alternating, and they were showcasing the alpaca wool, that is, things made out of the wool, the sweaters and coats. And actually, then in the next few days, I saw everyone in the group trying to look for those things. So it was pretty entertaining. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So we've covered the first part, right? The Andes, the
Yeah.
Inca Trail, and the adventurous side to it, I would say. Should we go to the coastal side of it, or should we come to the rainforest side?
I think we should go to the Amazon first. But before that, I think one point I want to make here is that Cusco is a very pretty city.
Hmm.
But you must see it by day and by night, because the atmosphere is completely different. And in Cusco, in the main square, Plaza de Armas again, you have Coricancha, which is this beautiful, which used to be like a temple built for the sun god, because the Incas used to pray to the sun god Inti. And everything there was made of gold. So Coricancha means the place of gold, a garden of gold.
Okay.
And everything there was gold. Of course, when the Spanish came, they took the gold away, and then they built their, church over it. So a Dominican church was built over it, but you can still see how the Incas made the walls. Like, it's insane when you look at the stones inside, and you wonder how did they do it, because the stones are massive boulders and they are stored one on top of the other, and the way they are cut, it can't move. And you really wonder how did they do this. So that part really actually reminded me a little bit of Egypt also, with the temples and everything.
Yeah, because the
And
pyramids are something
yeah,
that we don't know how
yeah,
they were
how
built,
they were
right?
built.
Yeah.
Similarly with this, and then you see these paintings and other things which showed how the Incas believed Cusco, because that was their capital, to be the belly button of the world, to be the center of the world. And they started building roads from there in all directions. And they built amazing roads, and you can see all of that out there. So Cusco is something you shouldn't miss. Definitely stay there, go there out late at night, spend your time there and have a cafe in one of the cafes that overlook the square. It's amazing. And the little roads, side roads, have a lot of shopping. So Cusco is a lot of fun.
So Sunila, we've spoken about the Andes, we've spoken about the trails, right? Now, the Amazon as a rainforest has always fascinated me. It covers, I think, 8 or 9 countries, largest rainforest in the world, plays a huge role in not only South America but the Earth's ecosystem in many ways. What was your experience like in the Amazon?
Well, it was amazing. And, even the last time when I had visited South America, I had missed out on visiting the Amazon. So I was really looking forward to it. And like you mentioned, the Amazon, of course, is known as the lungs of the world, because
Yeah.
some 20% of the oxygen for the world comes from the Amazon. You can visit it either from Brazil or Peru. And honestly, it makes no difference in that sense, because I mean, it's a line on the map, right? Either you're in Peru or you're in Brazil. Since I was in Peru here, and I happened to visit it from Iquitos, and again, there are two places you can visit it from. You can either go to Iquitos and then get into the Amazon, or you can go to the southern side, which is Puerto Maldonado. Now, there are more resorts in Puerto Maldonado. In Iquitos, the number of resorts are few, but you can go on a luxury cruise. And that, of course, I didn't have the chance to, but it's an amazing experience. For 3 nights or 4 nights, you can be floating on a cruise itself. It starts from Iquitos. So
Okay.
it's, but kind of what you do is quite similar whether you stay on a cruise or whether you stay on in a lodge. One thing, of course, to be mindful is that it is the Amazon rainforest, right? So
Yeah.
don't expect facilities or luxuries that you would elsewhere. There are maybe one or two luxury resorts out there which are also air conditioned. But it's funny when I ask them, yeah, you do have air conditioning, but do you have like the power? Do you have electricity? And then they just smile. But to conserve electricity, they put it off for certain times of the day. So, when you're out or maybe in the middle of the night, they will put it off for a few hours because you have to think of sustainability as well. Other than that, the stay was amazing. In fact, they did say that, but they do have solar power. We had no problem sleeping. Of course, you need mosquito
That's what I
repellents.
was going to ask. Like,
Yeah, so they kind of send you a guideline on things to do and follow that
to the
exactly
T.
to the T. One thing to remember is if you are planning to go to the Amazon, remember to carry a small bag because for the 2 days that you go there, you'll probably want to pack into a lighter bag and just take that. Because the boats that take you from Iquitos, there's no other way to reach there other than flight or boat. And if you're thinking that you're going to take your big suitcase and go there, that's not possible. So you have to like repack into a smaller bag or just carry a smaller bag and take it with you. It was really good. We did trekking in the day and we also trekked in the night, which was stunning because there was nothing, pitch dark and just the flashlight on the head. And we went out in the night and just soaking in the forest. So that was pretty stunning. And then we saw some sloth bears.
But let me stop you there. Trekking at night, wasn't that scary?
Well, it was exciting. It wasn't so scary because you have the guide with you from
Yeah.
the lodge, and he does have a very powerful flashlight. The joke is that they did give me a flashlight, but there was hardly any power in it, and my Apple iPhone had more
Was
battery.
better.
Really, it was better. So make sure your phones are charged when you're in the rainforest. But no, it was quite exciting, and you can hear the animals and birds that you would not hear in the day. So, and kind of because we had done it in the day, we kind of knew, oh, this is what
Yeah.
we saw in the daytime, and it's looking
You
so
also went
so
fishing,
different.
right?
Yes, and talking of scary, I yelled and screamed because I actually caught a piranha. So
They're
we
quite
went.
dangerous.
They are, and then when you see their teeth, it's amazing. So they take you there and they give you the bait and the hook, and you are. So the first few times you come out and you see that they've had their meal and you have nothing. But then I managed to catch a catfish and a piranha, so I was quite
Oh wow.
excited. It was
But that
super.
must be a fun
Yeah,
experience.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
not everyone likes fishing, but like the
Yeah.
ones
I
who
mean,
do,
then you
like
put the
yeah.
fish back into the
Yeah, yeah,
water,
yeah.
so it's fine. But it was
Yeah.
fun. It was
Okay,
fun.
so that was
Yeah.
the rainforest.
Yeah, and we did manage to try and see some dolphins as well. So you can see the Pink River dolphins,
Oh
and we
wow.
did see them at a distance.
That's pretty cool. So we'll come to stories at the end because I'm sure
Hmm.
you'll have a few stories about the culture, about
Yeah.
the people and all of that. Let's talk about the coast. What was the coastal side of Peru like?
So the coast was amazing as well, Neil. And of course, Lima itself is a port. So, it is by the ocean, by the Pacific Ocean. And 3 hours, about 3 to 3.5 hours south from Lima, you can reach Paracas. And another 40 minutes from there, you reach Ica. Now, the beauty of staying at Paracas is that you have the ocean on one side, but you have the desert on the other.
That's pretty cool.
So it was stunning. Like I went down there, and the first thing I did, even I think I checked into the hotel, and then I went on the buggies on the sand dunes. And
So
the
the
sand dunes
desert
were
meets the sea, is
massive.
it?
Doesn't really meet the sea. For a certain part it does,
Yeah.
and then you're on the Pan American Highway when you're driving from there, so that was itself quite exciting to be on the Pan American Highway. And then when I went and checked in, and then you go a little inland and you have these huge sand dunes. So it was stunning, and then you can be on a buggy out there. You can spend the night. You can do glamping out there, or just have a sunset in the desert kind of a thing, and then come back to Parkas. And on the boat, then the next day, there was a jetty right in my hotel. I took a boat and I went out to see Ballestas Islands, and the islands are. a home for penguins, sea lions, cormorants, birds.
Wow.
So it was stunning. It's about an hour and a half, and they are known as the mini Galapagos. So if you can't reach Ecuador and you can't reach Galapagos, then this is the next best thing. And we saw a lot of playful sea lions playing out there. It was a lot of fun. Saw some small penguins and the way how could they climb so high. So it was fun. You have a guide again. So that is really a lot of fun. Then again, 40 minutes from there, I went to Ica, which is where the wineries are. And I visited a winery called the Takama Winery. It was very nice. The guide was entertaining and she taught us all about how wine is made, of course. They show you everything and they also tell you about Pisco.
Okay.
So Pisco is the drink of Peru, which is a grape brandy, and how they make it out there and how Pisco sour started. And close by is the port from where they used to send Pisco, and that's how the city got its name Pisco, because they
Wow,
started
did
sending
not
Pisco
know
from
that.
that.
So
Yeah.
the pisco is from Peru. The
Yeah.
pisco sour comes from Peru,
Yeah.
but I did not know that the name
Yeah.
also came because of that.
Because of that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And I think the most important reason, probably a lot of people would want to go to Paracas, is that you can take a flight from here to see the Nazca Lines.
What is that?
So the Nazca Lines are these geoglyphs, as they call it, made by probably the Incas or the pre-Inca civilizations. And till date, it's a mystery as to why were they made. So the Nazca Lines are these like thousands of kilometers they spread. And what the people did back then is remove the pebbles from the desert.
Okay.
And they've created these, like different shapes. So there are some geometrical shapes like the trapezoids and other things. But they give you a little map and you have to take a small flight. And the flight is pretty crazy because they try to show both sides. So it's a small flight, like 10-seater, 12-seater flights. And you get into it, each one gets a window seat. And then you're like straining, struggling
Yeah.
and to see it. But it was amazing. So there was one that was a spiral. Then they have made a monkey. They have made a flower.
Wow.
And what a condor, a hummingbird, a parrot. And I think the most amazing thing was, by the on the mountainside, they've actually made an astronaut.
What?
So everyone is stunned that how and why did someone from those ages, like this is like 1500 or 1400s or even before that, how would they have made an astronaut? So you have an astronaut waving out. So they are wondering how did this happen and why was this made? Now, a lot of researchers have spent their lives over it. And one reason they say is that some of the lines point to the water. So they say maybe it was a calendar, maybe it showed where the water sources were or things, but no one really
You don't
knows
know.
why it was
Do
made.
you have photos of this?
Yes, I do.
We'll
I
definitely
do.
insert
I have
them in
some
the
videos
video
also.
of
Yes.
this episode.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool. Now, the last 25 odd minutes we've been talking about all of these 3 parts. But a large part about Peru is the food,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I've often seen around the world you have Peruvian food. But often Peruvian food is clubbed with Japanese food, and that is known as Nikkei cuisine. Why is
Yeah.
that? Where did that come from?
Sunil, not just Japanese, it's also clubbed with Chinese. But probably the Japanese Peruvian has made its way around the world,
Yeah.
and all of us love Japanese food
So
today.
does the Chinese Peruvian have
Yeah,
a
it's
word
called
also?
Chifa.
Chifa.
Chifa. So
Okay.
if you want to have Chinese food, and we had a lot of, I didn't expect to have so much fried rice or arroz chaufa as they call it in Peru as much as I did. And you'll see a lot of Chifa restaurants all across Peru. So the reason for that is, I think around the 1840s or so, a lot of Chinese immigrants were brought into Peru. They used to be called coolies, as to work on the fields and to work everywhere. And after that, a few years after that, the Japanese also came in.
Okay.
And what happened is that Chinese, it was only the men who came in, so they kind of intermingled with the local population, and it's become like a lot of interracial population out there.
Yeah, mixed kids and
Mixed
all
kids,
of that. Yeah.
mestizos, and all of that. Tucson, I think the Chinese are called, and then they took up the local names as well. They gave up their Chinese names.
Wow.
Some of them held on to their
Chinese
heritage, but the rest just gave up. The Japanese mostly held on to the names, and in fact, Neil, I discovered when I was reading up also is that one of the presidents of Peru was actually of Japanese origin.
Oh, wow.
So it's when you go there,
properly ingrained.
you really realize how much it is out
Yeah.
here, and you can, if you're missing like home food, just order a chaufa, even a veg chaufa, which is a veg fried rice, very close to what we eat here.
Oh,
Very,
yeah?
very close to what we eat here. So all the flavors come back,
So the food was great.
Food was great. Food was
What are
great.
some dishes that stood out for you?
So, if you talk of Peruvian food, of course, I'll tell you about the dishes, but one of the funny incidents was that they asked me, "Do you want to try an alpaca?" And I was like, this morning I was petting the poor llama and the
Oh,
alpaca.
damn.
I don't feel like eating it right away.
Yeah.
I did try it later, but just the afternoon we went to this weaving factory and there were so many llamas and alpacas and you can
What was
feed
the
them.
experience like?
Amazing. So you still have a lot of these weaving factories in and around Cusco and the Sacred Valley, and they have held on to like more than 400-500 years of tradition
Wow.
with beautiful artwork and carpets and table runners and things. And if you want to pick up something that's local, it's the best thing to do. A lot of woolen sweaters, jackets. So yeah, we were talking of packing light. Just don't bring any sweaters. Go
Just
into
buy them
Cusco,
there.
buy them there.
That's a good idea.
And they are very light. If you buy pure wool, it's very light. So it doesn't add on to your baggage weight also. So that's just one tip out there. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun, and they had all these llamas from which, of course, the wool comes, right? And there are many different breeds. So you have the llama, you have the alpaca, you have the vicuña, and then suddenly when they see you have food in your hand for them, they come running and they're very loving and very cute. So I didn't have the heart to try one, at
Yeah.
least on that day, but later I did. Some dishes that are popular in Peru, you are very familiar and you love one of them, of course, the ceviche.
Yep.
So it's
Big
raw
fan,
fish
yeah.
and very, very freshly made. And one another thing is that their limes are very sour. And that is the reason I think the ceviche becomes the way it is.
Yeah, because sometimes the first time you're having ceviche, you're like, oh, raw fish, how can you have it? But the sourness of the lime or the acidity
Yeah.
of the lime really cures the fish, I
it,
think,
yeah, in a
cooks
way,
it.
yeah.
And that's why
Yeah.
you can have it. So that would have been pretty good. I'm glad that you brought a lot of the sauces
Yes.
back. I'm quite excited to make something at home and
Yeah.
try it. So, okay, that was
So
one.
the ceviche with the sweet potato out there, that is something that you want to try. And did you know, Neil, that the sauces that are left when you're
Yeah.
preparing a ceviche, everything that's left, the marinade, is called a tiger's milk.
Why is it called the tiger's
Tiger's
milk?
leche, that's what they call it because
Oh.
it gets that color of the sweet potato and everything like the slightly orangish color. So they just call it that, and there were actually some packets of selling that as well. But everyone advised me, don't buy a ready-made tiger's milk. Make it with the
Make it
sauces
on
you
your own.
have. It's easier. So ceviche is one. If you don't want to have raw fish, veg ceviche everywhere was excellent.
What is veg ceviche?
So they add a lot of corn, they add sweet potatoes, sometimes tofu, with
Okay.
the whole Chinese, Japanese influence. It's quite easy, but very delicious. It was
Yeah.
very, very nice. We had it, I think, 3-4 times, and it was always good. So that's something.
But let me stop you there.
Yeah.
You mentioned there was a connection to Fanta. What was that?
That's just a hack. Like one of our guides, she was telling me that if you really want the sweet potato to become very tasty and taste sweeter, boil it in orange Fanta.
Orange Fanta.
Orange Fanta. So Mirinda or whatever,
Yeah,
boil it in an
yeah.
orange drink and it just gets the color you want. It becomes sweeter and it really, it
Maybe
is
some
the
of the
secret.
restaurants must be doing
So
that.
we will
Yeah.
try doing that
Yeah.
soon.
Awesome.
So
So,
yeah, so
you
that is one.
mentioned
Lomo
those.
saltado is the other
What
one.
is that?
So which is like a tenderloin. You can substitute that with chicken or other meats as well, and strips of onion and over it. Very, very tasty, like a stir fry.
Okay.
Something like a stir fry. You have anticuchos, which is like skewers. So again, that's something that you can try everywhere. And corn everywhere, all kinds of corn and
You'll
all
just
kinds
get
of
corn in
potatoes.
plenty, I'm
They
sure.
have more than 55 varieties of corn and 4,000 varieties of potatoes in Peru.
That's crazy.
Like 4,000. We were sitting for a dinner and she said, this is a flying potato. They have names for it and all those kind of things. So again, that's something you must try. One of my most memorable meals in Peru was a pachamanca.
Okay.
So pacha means earth and pachamama is mother earth. And what they do, in fact, we've tasted something similar in India in our villages as well. So what they do is they dig up a place in the earth, a pit in the earth, and they cover it, and then they put food into it. So you have veg or chicken or the other things, and all kinds of tubers, all kinds of potatoes, all kinds of corn, everything goes in there, vegetables, everything, and then meat. They cover it up, they put soil over it, they put leaves over it, and they light it up, and then it slow cooks. It slow cooks in the sauces, and I think
The
it was the
flavors of the
best.
earth also seep in.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they add a little fish to it because there's a lot of fish in Peru.
Yeah.
So when we were sitting, I think we couldn't eat that night. There was fish, there was other things, so that was one of the best meals. When it comes to drinks, I think two things that you must order wherever you go. One is a lemonade, because the homemade lemonade in Peru is special. They actually add the rind of the lemon to it. So
Wow.
the lemon skin is added, and because the lemons itself are nice, the limes are nice. That's something that you should have. And the other thing was my absolute favorite. It's called chicha morada. So chicha morada is nothing but purple corn, and they make a drink out of it, and they make a beer also out of it if you want to have the beer. But I love the non-alcoholic version. It was just too good, very refreshing. So that's again something you should have. I think I can keep talking about things to eat and do in
I was
Peru.
just gonna say, that, we are gonna put a counter on the number of times you have said favorite all through the episode, just because
You
it
know
seems like you had
me.
a great trip,
Yeah, I
and
did.
because it's so fresh in your mind, like
Yeah.
it seems like Peru has really left a mark on
Definitely.
you, and now it
Definitely.
is going to leave a mark on us, because over the last
Yes.
30-35 minutes you've spoken a lot about it. Now, of course, we are running out of time, but we may have the slot for one more thing. So, what would you like to leave our listeners with? One story, one unique thing about Peru that probably me or everyone sitting here or anyone watching this, none of us know.
I think we'll need another episode for sure because there's still a lot more stories. But I think since we're on the topic of food, let's stick to that. And I'm going to add one last thing that you should have when you're in Peru. All of these, when you're in Cusco and the other things, everyone told us that once you get there, you might have the altitude, to acclimatize and all of that. So keep drinking tea. And then they said, have the tea that the hotel will give you, whatever it is. So one variant is called a munya tea, which is
Okay.
made from the herbs, which was fine. But the more interesting part was the coca tea.
Okay.
Okay, and they go on giving it to you everywhere, coca. And I asked him, what is this coca? So they all showed me the coca leaves, and then they all hold it together. You'll see it on a lot of t-shirts, like how the Adidas logo
Yeah,
was
yeah,
with the
yeah. Yeah.
trefoil holding the three leaves together. And even when we did actually a ceremony with the shaman there,
Yeah.
the thing, it's called Pacha Mama ceremony, he gave us those leaves to hold and say our prayers and stuff. So the coca leaf, I later learned, is nothing but the leaf from which you make narcotics, right?
Oh, damn.
So before it reaches the narcotic level, it's quite healthy. It's good for you.
Bang.
And that is
Insert
the
a
tea.
Narcos episode middle of the middle of the
Okay, the story doesn't stop
Yeah.
there. What I also learned was that these are the same coca leaves that go into Coca-Cola.
Okay.
So,
So just at different levels
levels,
of the
yeah,
life of the leaf is
they
when all of
remove
yeah.
the narcotic portion out of it, and the
Yeah,
rest
of
goes
course.
into Coca-Cola, of course. The rest goes to medicine.
Yeah.
But it's the same leaf that goes into
Wow, that's a very
Coca-Cola.
unique fact,
So,
or
yeah.
fact or thing that
So
probably
when the guide told me, I had to go and research it. I said, is he fibbing or is it
yeah.
true? But it is true. It is
Wow.
true.
I think this is an apt
Yeah.
way to probably end the episode. But awesome. Thanks a lot for taking us through this. I looked at my watch. I think we've spoken for more than 30 minutes, out of which I may have spoken for 3 minutes. You've taken a majority of the time, but that's what we want and that's what we like, because whenever you come back from any place, the destination is so fresh in your mind. We just are very opportunistic and we just make you sit down and tell us about the place. So that's it from us, listeners and viewers. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you've stayed with us for this long, then let me tell you that a lot of these episodes are topics that you have suggested to us. So write to us. Sunila's email is sunila, sunila@veenaworld.com, and mine is neil, neil@veenaworld.com. We want to get feedback from you. We want observations from you, and tell us about your travel stories, because one episode at a time, we have crossed more than 150 episodes, or maybe 200 or 300 episodes if you combine all of our podcasts. But it's because of your support that we keep this going. So thank you so much. And as we always say at Veena World, keep celebrating life. Bye.